If you really want to join the overseas training, go ahead and pay for it yourself.
I was shaking with anger at the unfair treatment, clenching my fists tightly.
Don't think you can get away with this kind of tyranny.
What can an old man do? To me, it sounds like the bark of a loser. Anyway, it's almost boarding time, so I'm hanging up.
Wait a minute. I'm not done talking.
Despite my attempt to stop him, the call was abruptly cut off. My grandson, who had been listening to the whole thing beside me, looked at me with a worried expression.
It's okay, don't worry. Let's go to the training destination now. Just like he wants, we'll pay for it ourselves.
I told him this and decided to head to the airport together. My name is Joseph Gibson, now 75 years old. I've devoted my life to work for many years, but due to my age, I stepped down from the front lines this year. However, there are still rare occasions when I'm needed, and at those times, I make an appearance. Compared to before, I can live quite peaceful days. With work having settled down, I spend more time at home and have recently been enjoying time with my family more. By the way, we live in a two-generation household with 5 family members. My daughter and her husband, who live with us, have a son named Bruce. He is my first grandchild and a precious existence that means the world to me. I've been living with Bruce since he was born, and we have a good relationship. Moreover, he seems to trust me very much, as even now at 25, he comes to consult with me first before his parents whenever something comes up. Bruce is straightforward, earnest, and ambitious. He was always an excellent student during his school days and now works at a major trading company, where he is expected to be a promising young talent. I'm very proud of him. However, it seems he has his own troubles. Over drinking together, he occasionally complains to me that he is struggling with his relationship with his boss. That boss's name is Kevin, and for some mysterious reason, he seems to dislike Bruce. Although Bruce himself doesn't know why he's disliked, he is often blamed for minor mistakes with a high-handed attitude, which causes him a lot of stress. As he told me with a deep sigh, it pained me to see him like that. No matter how grown he gets, Bruce is my only beloved grandson. Seeing my dear grandson so troubled, I tried to encourage him at the moment, but I was very worried inside. One night, Bruce came home from work with a somewhat happy expression and burst into my study.
"Grandpa, I've been selected for the overseas training program."
He said this with a beaming smile and showed me the documents about the overseas training. About a month ago, he told me that the company was recruiting trainees for a program at a subsidiary in Germany. He had always been ambitious since his student days, and dreamed of working abroad. Thus, he immediately applied for the program.
That's great. It's a competitive selection process, right? That's really something.
I rejoiced as if it were my own achievement and congratulated him.
"I'm just at the starting line, but I'm so happy. I wanted to tell you first, Grandpa."
He said, looking at me straight with sparkling eyes, rejoicing like a child.
I'm happy too. There might be tough times, but I'm sure you'll do well, Bruce. I'm rooting for you.
I told him with a smile, lightly patted his back, and cheered him on. 2 months passed, and the day to leave for the overseas training finally arrived. Bruce was busy checking his luggage at the entrance, and I watched him from the side.
Do you have your passport? And don't forget the materials for the training.
"I'm already 25, you know? You don't have to worry about me like a kid."
Ignoring my worried voice, he said cheerfully and laughed.
My bad, I can't help but worry. You've really grown into a fine adult.
Having watched him closely since he was little, I still tend to treat him like a child. I know he doesn't like it, and it's not good, but it's my bad habit.
"It's about time for the bus, so I'm off."
He said with a smile, opening the front door. We hugged, and I saw him off with a
good luck.
Just 5 minutes later, While reading the newspaper in the living room, I heard the sound of the keys turning at the front door. My daughter and her husband had already gone to work and were supposed to return in the evening. My wife had also just left for a hospital checkup for her chronic illness. No one should be coming home at this hour, so feeling suspicious, I cautiously headed toward the front door. There was Bruce, who should have left with such energy just moments ago. He was slumped and looking dejected. Though he had been so cheerful, his expression became very dark, and he looked somewhat pale. Remembering that Bruce had mentioned the bus was at 10:10, I checked the clock by the door. The bus stop is about a 10-minute walk from the house, and the clock showed just 10 o'clock.
Did you forget something? You won't make it to the bus if you don't hurry.
Worried about Bruce, I asked what had happened.
Grandpa, I can't go on the training.
He murmured in a thin voice.
Why is this happening to me? I haven't done anything wrong.
It was heartbreaking to see him speak so painfully, choking on his words.
Can you tell me what happened?
I went over to him, gently put my arm around his shoulders, and rubbed his back.
I just got a call from Kevin.
Kevin. That boss of yours.
I instinctively reacted to the name he mentioned. Hearing the name of troublesome boss who had been high-handed with Bruce for a while, I sensed something was seriously wrong.
What did he say?
He said the plane ticket he gave me yesterday was a fake.
What?
Bruce pulled the plane ticket out of his bag and showed it to me.
Look at this.
He pointed to the ticket. When I looked closely, it was found a copied fake.
Apparently, Kevin scanned his own plane ticket and printed this out.
Bruce explained in a trembling voice, clutching the fake ticket tightly.
This is terrible.
I was speechless, covering my mouth with my hand in shock.
According to Kevin, he never even booked my plane ticket in the first place.
Why would he do that? You were officially selected for the training, right? I can't understand why he would harass you like this.
While people can dislike others for no reason, this kind of excessive harassment was clearly unacceptable. Besides, even if there was a legitimate reason, what happened was still unforgivable.
Kevin said I was incompetent. He said he wouldn't take someone incompetent to the training and that I should come at my own expense if I wanted to participate.
It was unbelievable that a boss would be so tyrannical to his colleague.
I'll contact the company, but Kevin is favored by the managers, so I don't know if they'll take me seriously.
Bruce sighed deeply and looked more distressed than I had ever seen him. Then, I took out his smartphone with trembling hands. Not wanting to see my beloved grandson suffer any longer, I made a suggestion.
I'll call this Kevin myself.
What? But I can't let you do that. I'm an adult, I can't keep relying on you.
Bruce looked a bit confused and apologetic.
Even adults need help sometimes. No one can face every hardship alone.
Grandpa.
His tension broke, and he began to cry loudly, like a child. At home, he had always been cheerful and energetic, but he must have been deeply troubled by Kevin's harassment. Bruce had endured as much as he could, but this incident had pushed him to his limit. I regretted not noticing his pain sooner, but it was not the time to dwell on such feelings.
It's going to be okay now. Leave everything to me.
Resolving to protect my precious Bruce, I firmly declared. I borrowed his smartphone and called the man named Kevin.
Hey, it's almost boarding time, don't call me.
After 3 rings, Kevin picked up the phone. The moment he started shouting, I let out a deep sigh at his attitude.
I am not Bruce Gibson. I am his grandfather. Are you his boss, Kevin?
His grandpa? What do you want?
I heard everything from my grandson. What kind of nerve do you have?
I protested in a voice trembling with anger, but Kevin was unfazed and replied calmly.
Your grandson is just too incompetent. He wasn't fit for the training in the first place.
In a lazy, carefree voice, Kevin started badmouthing Bruce.
Even if that's what you think, Bruce was officially selected for the training. Replacing his plane ticket with a fake one is childish behavior.
I retorted in a firm tone, but Kevin's attitude remained unchanged.
If you ask me, someone who relies on their grandpa for something like this is way more childish.
He laughed loudly and continued.
You know, the only reason he got selected was because there was an opening. He wasn't supposed to be chosen in the first place.
I don't know the exact selection criteria, but he was still chosen. So, let Bruce join the training.
Annoyed by my persistence, Kevin sighed deeply.
Okay, listen, I did it all for the company's benefit.
What?
I was confused by his nonsensical reason.
Cost cutting. It's cheaper to exclude an incompetent person than to waste a lot of money on them.
I was utterly dumbfounded by his ridiculous logic.
What are you talking about? Do you really think the managers would be happy with this?
Of course they would. Sending someone overseas costs tens of thousands of dollars per person. It's a great way to save money.
I was speechless. It was unbelievable that someone like him had been working at a major trading company for years.
So if he still wants to go, he can pay for it himself.
I was shaking with anger at the unjust treatment, clenching my fists tightly.
Don't think you can get away with this kind of tyranny.
What can an old man do? To me, it sounds like the bark of a loser. Anyway, it's almost boarding time, so I'm hanging up.
Wait a minute. I'm not done talking.
Despite my attempt to stop him, the call was abruptly cut off. Bruce, who had been listening to the whole thing beside me, looked at me with a worried expression.
It's okay, don't worry. Let's go to the training destination now. Just like he wants, we'll pay for it ourselves.
I told him this and decided to head to the airport with him. Hours later, we had safely arrived in Germany, the training destination. As we waited in the airport lobby for Kevin's arrival, then, I made eye contact with the middle-aged man at the front of the group. As he spotted Bruce standing next to me, he approached with a look of surprise.
What? Why are you here?
You're Kevin, right? As promised, we paid our way here. Got a problem with that?
I confronted Kevin in a strong tone.
How did you do it? And why did you get here before us?
Seeing his confusion, I decided to reveal the secret.
Right after the call, I arranged for a private jet. We took the fastest route, so we got here ahead of you.
That's nonsense. Someone who isn't rich couldn't do that. Who the heck are you?
His voice rose in agitation as he struggled to comprehend. I was about to answer, but one of my secretaries, who had been standing nearby, spoke up first.
Watch your words. Do you not know who this gentleman is?
Who are you? Shut up.
Kevin immediately shouted at the secretary who had suddenly intervened between us.
Don't you understand my words? I said to watch your language.
Annoyed by his firm attitude, Kevin raised his right arm and tried to grab the secretary by the collar, but at that moment, another man brushed Kevin's arm aside.
Please refrain from using violence in a public place. It's a nuisance to everyone else.
It's none of your business. Geez, weirdos just keep popping up.
Ignoring Kevin's confusion, one of the secretaries spoke up.
We are this gentleman's secretaries. As he is traveling abroad, all 5 of us accompanied him today.
What? Secretaries? That many? Why?
Kevin looked increasingly bewildered because he was unable to comprehend who I was, seeing me with 5 secretaries and arriving by private jet. Though, realizing he couldn't back down anymore, he continued to argue.
I don't care who you are. If you're the grandpa of an incompetent employee, you're just as useless. What the heck is this situation?
Seeing Kevin losing his cool, both Bruce and I, as well as the secretaries, sighed and shook our heads.
This gentleman is a shareholder in your company. His photo has been featured in the company newsletter several times. Are you not aware of him?
One of the secretaries reluctantly explained my identity to Kevin. Upon hearing the secretary's words, not only Kevin but the surrounding employees also began to buzz. Unlike Kevin, however, the other employees murmured things like,
I thought so.
and,
I recognized him but didn't think it was him.
indicating they had seen my face before but hadn't realized it was me. Kevin was upset, and he fell silent. I had been investing for a long time and was often referred to as a shrewd investor by those around me. Though it feels embarrassing now, I was inspired by those words and decided to start my own investment fund. In my youth, I was highly ambitious, driven by a desire to grow more. As a result, I now serve as the chairman of a major investment fund. Moreover, I still hold shares in many large companies, including the major trading company where Bruce works, and I am the largest shareholder.
No way! This old man is a major shareholder?
Mouth agape like a fish, Kevin's previous bravado vanished, replaced by a weak voice.
You've treated my grandson quite harshly. I informed the CEO about this incident during our flight.
The CEO?
Kevin's eyes widened in shock, and he began to sweat profusely. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he started muttering.
This is bad. What should I do? I never thought it would come to this.
But it was too late.
I asked the CEO to take appropriate action regarding your behavior. I also mentioned that if nothing is done, I will raise the issue at the shareholders' meeting and hold the management accountable.
With a smile, I calmly conveyed this to Kevin, whose face turned visibly pale with fear.
By the way, what did the CEO say?
Kevin asked me timidly.
You've been putting on a good face for the managers, haven't you? The CEO was very surprised. But he promised to deal with your behavior and this incident strictly, which relieved me.
At the word strictly, he visibly flinched.
What am I supposed to do?
I don't care, it's too late. You would be dismissal. Or perhaps a transfer to a remote location.
When I said this so casually, he began apologizing to me loudly, not caring about anyone watching.
I'm deeply sorry. Please forgive me.
Seeing his pitiful apology, the other employees looked at him with cold, disgusted eyes.
I said it's too late. Even if you embarrass yourself here, it won't change your future.
I was just so annoyed that this guy, who is much younger, is celebrated in the company and has the support of the managers. That's why I did it. I didn't mean any harm.
He kept excusing loudly. Bruce and I were both so exasperated by his childish reason that we exchanged glances and sighed simultaneously.
I even overheard that the managers said they wanted to invite him to apply for the overseas training if there were no applicants. That's why I lost my cool.
So the story about him being selected because of a vacancy was a lie.
In response to my question, Kevin apologized again.
Yes, I'm sorry.
His excuse boiled down to excessive jealousy towards Bruce, who was looked upon with great expectations despite his young age. That led Kevin to harass Bruce eventually. What a pathetic and terrible reason.
Kevin, listen.
Are you going to forgive me?
Kevin's face visibly brightened with relief, his mouth relaxing into a smile.
Of course not. I will not accept your apology. You've hindered a young man full of dreams and hope with your childish and nasty harassment. You will face the consequences.
As I sternly reprimanded him, his face fell from relief to dismay, and he collapsed, utterly drained of strength.
Furthermore, you will return to the US on my jet immediately. The details have been entrusted to my secretary. Get up now.
But I have to lead the trainees.
His feeble resistance was barely audible.
Don't worry. My capable secretary will take over your responsibilities. Of course, I have the CEO's approval. In fact, the company hosting the training is one of the companies I invest in. I had already informed the CEO about the whole incident and obtained permission for the change in leadership. Hearing this, Kevin realized he was no longer needed, and he stood there in a daze with his eyes empty. However, leaving him in this state was not an option. I asked two of my burly male secretaries to carry him out. Looking like an alien being escorted away, Kevin was pitifully taken back to America. The next day, I received a report from the CEO. Kevin was immediately summoned by the CEO and the board of directors upon his return and subjected to questioning. Kevin tried to redeem himself by claiming,
I was tough on the employee because I wanted him to become strong and capable.
but it backfired. Bruce is known within the company for being an exceptionally competent employee. He rarely makes mistakes, and when he does, they are minor typos or trivial errors he quickly corrects himself. Therefore, Kevin's claim of a mistake-prone employee did not apply to Bruce, increasing the CEO's and board's mistrust. The company began an investigation with other employees quickly. It revealed that Kevin had also been behaving inappropriately towards other employees. As a result, before the trainees returned, it was decided that he would be transferred. Although not dismissed, he was sent to a related company in the Middle East. According to the CEO, when informed of his transfer, Kevin cried like a child and repeatedly apologized. Frankly, I thought it was well deserved. Meanwhile, Bruce successfully participated in the training and returned home without any issues. It seems the training was enriching, and he is now working with even more vigor than before. Seeing him so full of hope, I quietly wish for him to spread his wings and succeed worldwide, just as I once did.